Today I'm going to show you how to supercharge Excel VBA using web APIs. Web APIs may seem a bit daunting at first, but by the time you finish this video, you'll be able to read data from any web API and use it in your Excel VBA application. Make sure to watch to the end of the video, as in the final section I will show you a simple way to write the code for any web API. All the code used in this video is available to download from the link in the description below. Now let's go ahead and get started. If you like this video, then please click on the like button, and if you'd like to get notified of my upcoming videos, then click on the subscribe button and the bell icon beside it. What exactly is an API and why do we need it? Well, an API is a programming interface that allows us to interact with applications, and primarily nowadays it's web applications. So for example, Twitter, YouTube and all other major web applications have APIs that allow us to interact. So what's an API in simple terms? It's simply a group of functions that allows us to interact with the application. Imagine we have some kind of social media website. We could do things like get the subscriber count, add a subscriber, delete a subscriber, and so on. So how the API works with VBA is as follows. So we send a request to the API, and then the API sends us a response. So a request looks like this. It's made up of 4 parts. It's made up of the URL. So this is basically what we're connecting to. And when you go to an API documentation, it will tell you this. The next thing we need is the function name, which is the function that we want to call. And most of the time, the function will take parameters, but sometimes it doesn't require parameters. So it's very similar to how we use functions in any programming language. And finally, we use an API key. So an API key is like our customer ID. It uniquely identifies us when we're accessing the API. Now we often pass this as a parameter, but we can pass it in other ways as well. So the response, when we get the response back in VBA, it comes back in JSON format. And what we do then is we convert this to a dictionary structure. So JSON format is essentially a list of key value pairs. So you can see here we've got currency. So currency is basically the key, and CAD, Canadian dollar, is the value. And again, amount is the key, and then 127.69 is the value. Now in some cases, what we'll have is a more complicated or a bigger set of data that's been returned. And so what we'll have then is collections within collections. So here you can see we've got a country, and the country has a list of cities, and within each city then we've got the actual details, such as land area and founded. Now when we convert this to dictionary, we have our dictionary of the country, and then under cities there's another dictionary which holds the cities, and it holds basically a dictionary of the details. Now if you're not familiar with dictionaries, then check out my playlist on dictionaries, because it's very important that you understand them. And if you're already familiar with them, don't worry about it being too complicated as it looks here, because actually once you start using them, it's quite straightforward. So using an API in a nutshell, we send a request to the API, we receive a response in JSON format, we convert JSON to a dictionary structure, and then we simply read from the dictionary and write to our worksheet or wherever we want to place the data. So now that we understand what exactly an API is, let's have a look at 2 examples that I've created, and after that we'll start writing code and we'll see exactly how we can use APIs in VBA. In this first example, you can see what we're doing is we're going to get back currency rates. So what we do is we pass the 2 parameters USD and amount, and we click on get currency rates. And this returns us all the currency rates. So this is one example of using an API. Now we can change our parameters as we want. So let's make it Canadian dollar, and then we run it again, and you can see that we've got back our set of rates and amounts. So a second example is recipes. So we select a recipe, let's just pick Caesar salad for example, and it returns us the calories, fat and protein for that recipe. So these are 2 very simple ways that we can use APIs. So once we get the data back, there's many different things that we can do with it. Now that we understand what an API is and we've seen examples of how it works, let's go ahead and start writing the code. We're going to start by writing code for this API. So this API is very simple. It's just got a URL or endpoint, and on the right hand side from the question mark on is the parameter. So we simply pass it the name as a parameter, and it returns us the 3 most likely countries the person is from, as well as the probability that they're from that country. So if we run it from the website itself, you can see the results that we get. So this is useful because now we know the format that our results is coming in. I'll just make this a little bit bigger in Notepad so we can see it. It gives us back the name Michael, and then it gives us back the country, which is a collection. So the country is a collection of dictionaries with 2 keys, and each dictionary has the name of the country and the probability. So let's write the code and see how we can use this data ourselves. The first thing we need to do when we're reading from an API is we use a library, and that's the WinHTTP library. So we go to Tools, References, and we go down to Microsoft, right down, and you see it here, Microsoft WinHTTP Services version 5.1, and we click OK. And then we say dim request, and that's just going to be request as new Win, and it's going to be WinHTTP request. Once we have that request, what we want to do is we want to open, so we want to initialize it, and then when we're finished initializing, what we do is we just send the request. Now open takes a parameter, it takes 2 parameters. The first parameter is what we want to do, and we're going to do get, which means receiving data. And then the URL that we're going to use. So if we go back to the website, we can just take all of this here, and this is our URL. Now, as I said before, what's on the right hand side here from the question mark over is our parameter. So we can change that to a different name if we require. We hit request send, and that will send the request. Now what we want to do when we do a send is we want to check that what we got back is correct, because sometimes it will fail, and it could be because we did a wrong parameter or something like that. So we say if request.status does not equal, and that should be 200, then what we want to do is give a message box with the error. So request, and that will be response text, and then we exit the sub because we don't want to carry on any further. Now if it's okay, what we want to do is we want to get the response back. So we get the response, we say dim response as object, and the response is actually, as we just saw above, it's in a response text. But we want to convert this from JSON, and we want to make it into a structure of dictionaries. So we do set response equals. Now how do we convert it? So we could write the code for this, but obviously it'd be a huge undertaking. So what we do is we go to GitHub. So if you're not familiar with GitHub, it's like a programming database of code snippets for all different languages. And you can go and use the code there generally for free. So if you go to VBA tools, you can see there's lots of different files here. But what we're going to do is just download the code. So we download the zip, and we're just going to download it into our folder here. And let's open the folder, or show in the folder rather. You can see that we have it here. Now if I open it here, all we need in this is this file, this basic file. All the other files, we don't really need them for anything. They're just different configuration and stuff. So we can just drag that here and drop it into our folder. So what we do with this to use it is we can just drag it like this and drop it into our project. And we can do this with any project we want to use it. Now one other small thing we want to do is debug. If we do a debug compile, you see we get an error, and that's because it doesn't recognize dictionary. So what we've got to do is we've got to add the scripting runtime for the dictionary. So scripting runtime is the library that we always have to use as a reference when we're using the dictionary. So again, this is Microsoft scripting runtime. You see it here. Now if I do a debug compile, you'll see that it doesn't give that error. It's given the error on this line, of course, because we haven't set it yet. So now to use the JSON converter, we just say JSON like this, JSON converter dot, and we want to parse JSON. And we pass it in the JSON response text, and this will give us back a structure. Now we're going to access the data that we got back. So you may be wondering, how do we know what the structure looks like, and where do we even start? Well, most APIs that you'll deal with will actually give you an example of what the response is like. And in this case, if we click on Try Me here, it will actually show us the actual response. So you can see the response here is in JSON. So what would this look like when it's converted to a proper data structure? So I've just adjusted the very same data here, and you can see exactly what it will look like. if we look to the left here, what you'll see is that we've got name and Michael. So name is the key, Michael is the value. And the second one, country, is the key. And you can see we've got all this data here, that's the value. So if we look at this data, you'll see that we've got three similar parts. So country is what we would call a collection. So we've got a dictionary, and in the dictionary we've got country, and then country has a collection of other items. And if we look at these individual items, you'll see that each one is a dictionary. It's got a key and value pair. So we've got country ID, and we've got the country, and then we've got probability, and we've got the probability value. We have this in three cases. We've got a dictionary. The dictionary has a collection of countries, and each of the countries is a dictionary. Let's go and write the code to extract this data, and it's not as difficult as you may think. The first thing we're going to write in the code is the response name. So response name, as we've seen, gives us back the actual name that we've supplied. Now the second key in the top dictionary is country, and as we saw, this is a collection of countries. So we're going to create a collection. We're going to call it countries, and we're going to say dim countries as collection. Then we set this countries equal to response country. So now we've got our collection countries, and what we'll do is we'll read through this countries collection and take each dictionary one at a time. So we declare country as a dictionary, and we say for each country in countries. So each time in this loop we have country, and country is the dictionary. Now that we have this dictionary, what we do is we print out the country ID and we print out the probability. And as the probability comes as decimal, we can use format % to format it into a percentage. And that's all we've got to do to read this data. So now let's go ahead and run the code, and you'll see we got the expected results. We got name, we got the country, and the probability. And there's 3 of these results. So let's try it again with a Spanish sounding name so that we'll get back a different selection of countries. We'll run the code again, and you can see that we got back the name, we got back the different countries and different probabilities. So this is how we use a web API, read back the data and write it out somewhere. You may have found dealing with the structure a bit complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down here into very simple terms that you can understand. Now normally in VBA, when we're dealing with a dictionary, we have a simple key pair like you can see here. So we could have something like fruit, and then we have the key name, which would be apple, orange, plum, mango, and so on. And the value would be maybe the number of items that we'd sold, or it could be the cost of each one. Now a second example here is where we have the number, and this could be some kind of list of people that we want to process. And for each one, the key is a number, and then the value is the person's name. So these are simple versions of a dictionary. Now we can use dictionaries in a more advanced way. And in this case, you can see the dictionary on the left. It has the name, and the name is the name of the person. It has a city. It has a balance, which is a currency. It has the date joined, which is a date, obviously. And you can see it has different data types. Now the purchases at the bottom of this dictionary is actually another dictionary. And then we look at the other dictionary, and you can see this dictionary is similar in that it's got a list of keys, which are the items that have been bought. So for example, a toaster, a TV, cable, these are the keys, and then the value is the amount that was spent on each one. Now if we go back to our API looks like this. We've got a simple dictionary that is a name and a country. Now the country has a collection of countries. And this collection, each item in the collection is a dictionary. And you can see the dictionary is country ID and probability. So we've got a list of dictionaries. So this is what we do when we're trying to access the different items in our structure. We basically have to figure out what way the structure is first, and then we can easily access the items. Now I'm going to break down the structure to show you exactly how it works. So the top of our structure, we've got a name and we've got country. So these are the two key value pairs. Name is simply a string, and country is, as we saw, a collection. So we're going to print out the name. We're just going to do a debug print and print out the name. Now because response country is a collection, what we're going to do is we're going to create a collection variable. So we'll say dim countries as collection, and then we'll assign this collection to response country. So even though they're the same, using a collection makes it more readable, makes it more obvious what exactly it is. Now once we have a collection in VBA, we can read through it. And we know our collection is a collection of country dictionaries. So we say for each country in countries, and this will return us a dictionary each time. And once we have the dictionary, which is the country, we know each of these dictionaries is made up of the country ID and the probability. So we simply print these out. Now when we run this code, what you see is that it printed out the name and it printed out the countries and their respective probabilities. So you can see writing the code like this makes it much more obvious what we're doing. Now if you find the code still a bit complicated, don't worry. It's always going to be some mixture of dictionaries and collections, but mostly dictionaries. So once you can do the basics with the dictionary, it's pretty straightforward to do it. Now I'm going to show you a super fast way to write the code for any API. So we're going to go to the Rapid API website. Now the Rapid API website is a marketplace of APIs. And how the APIs are presented is very standard, so it makes it really easy to use any of these APIs. So we're going to look at the Alpha Vantage API, and this is an API that returns stock prices. So on the left hand side we've got the functions. You can see stock time series, and these are the different functions. When you click on any one of these, it shows in the center the different parameters, header, etc. that it takes. And on the right hand side we can see code snippets, and we'll be using these in a few moments, and you'll see how easy it is to use them to create the code that we want. So let's go back to VBA for a moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this existing template. Now you can get this template by downloading the code from the description below the video. And we've got the template, we're going to paste it into our module, as you can see I've just done. If we switch back to the Rapid API website and we go to the code snippet on the right hand side, so then we go to JavaScript and XML HTTP request. This gives us code that's very similar to the code we're using in VBA. And all we really need here is the open and set request header statements, because all the other code in our template. So we just paste the code here, and then we can use it ourselves. So you can see their open statement is very similar to the one we used below. And I'm just going to split this into the URL and the parameters. So the first part I'm just going to put a URL, and the second part the parameters. Now we could use it all as our get string if we wanted, but I just like to split them up to make it a little bit clearer. And now we've got our open string ready to go. So we delete this, and now we've got to do our request headers. Now we haven't used these before, but if you need a request header, it basically takes a key value pair. Now when we paste it down here, all we've got to do is replace their variable with our request variable, and then get rid of any of the parentheses. So get rid of the parentheses at the start and the end and the semicolons. And that's all the code we need to request data from the API. What we need to do now is just run our code and then figure out what the structure that we get back is. So you see here it says sign up for API key. So when you sign up to Rapid API, you get your own API key and you can put it here. Now I'm calling mine from a function because obviously I don't want to display it. Now if we want to see what the return looks like, so what the data we're getting back looks like, we can go back to the Rapid API again. And if in the code snippet section we click on example responses, it shows us exactly what we're expecting back. So you can see we've got two items in our dictionary. We've got a time series, and within this time series we've got a selection of intervals, and each of these intervals has an open, high, low, close and volume. So it has all the values for these. So we want to get these for each of the time intervals. So how do we do it? Well, first of all we create a dictionary. So we get the dictionary from the time series 5min that you see here. And if we use that within response, so response is our converted JSON, if we use that here, we can set it to be a dictionary. So we're going to call our dictionary prices, and now we've got our prices dictionary. So our prices dictionary, as we've seen, has a series of intervals, and so we're going to read through our dictionary. We're going to use a for each loop. So we declare our key as a variant, and we say for each key in our prices dictionary. And then we get access to each item in the dictionary using prices and the key. So that gives us the current object. And then we create a second dictionary, or we declare a second dictionary rather, we call price, and we set price equal to whatever is at the current key. So remember, what's at the current key is a dictionary with the open, close, volume, prices and values. And then we can get access to this, and we simply say one.open, and that's the price. So that's the key for the open price, and we want to get the close price, which is for close. And we'll print out the key as well. So let's run this code. And you can see that it printed out all the interval times as well as the open and the close price. And you can see that I created the code for this API in just a few minutes. And it was just a matter of copying the code snippet, pasting it here, and then just figuring out from the response what we were looking for. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any questions about what I've done here today. And if you want to download the source code, make sure to get it from the link in the description below the video. If you liked this video, then please click on the like button, and if you'd like to get notified of my upcoming videos, then click on the subscribe button and the bell icon beside it.